Divinely revealed. 7 prophetic ways to adapt to the miraculous changes manifested in your life. In the heart of a quaint rural village where church bells chimed like goddess' own calling, Grace lived with her son Luke, enveloped by fields of wildflowers glowing in the golden sunlight. Known for her unwavering faith, every night they knelt together, hands clasped, vocalizing their hopes and dreams to the divine. But then, a tempest struck. Luke was diagnosed with a rare, mysterious illness. Doctors were baffled, and their future felt dim, like the flicker of a candle in the wind. In the silence of her doubt, Grace prayed fervently, tears streaming down her cheeks like rain at twilight. Lord, restore his laughter, return my sunshine. On one long-awaited Sunday, as she entered their cherished chapel, a wave of warmth washed over her. A well-respected elder suddenly stood, a prophetic word escaping his lips. Change is upon you. Adapt to the miraculous. It surged through Grace like lightning. In that moment, 8 steps to witness miraculous transformations danced in her heart. Armed with this newfound mission, she vowed to explore the 7 prophetic ways to invite God's profound changes. Each step called her deeper into prayer, urging her to gather her village in testimony and longing. Those who once rallied around her now blinked with skepticism. Grace, you can't deny reality, they whispered. Still, her heart ignited like a bonfire. Did God not promise healing? Luke's laughter was only a prayer away. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As whispers of doubt permeated through the air, Grace still felt the Holy Spirit tugging at her heart, insisting she persevere. She filled the chapel with prayer. Each prayer became a thread, weaving a tapestry of unity around Luke's healing. Miracles began to sprout. Lights flickered mysteriously. Coincidences, others called it. Yet, Grace knew. One evening, as she prayed for courage, an ethereal presence filled the room, cascading in divine luminescence. An angel appeared. It spoke little but ignited a fire within Grace. Keep the faith, it urged. Luke's condition began to shift, transforming from anguish to joy, laughter erupting as if angels had kissed him awake. Doctors' faces paled in disbelief, marveling at this unexpected miracle. The chapel reverberated with joy, yet with joy surged questions and shadows of doubt. As the village gathered, they faced the burning question of what Luke's healing truly meant. Something stirred, a mystery on the brink of revelation. Standing at the chapel's doorway, Grace felt a shift, a surge in spirit like a storm sky about to break into clear blue. Suddenly, a figure appeared, cloaked in intrigue and wisdom. It was someone from beyond their understanding. Heart racing, Grace met the eyes of the stranger. Their story was only just beginning. Would the village embrace the fullness of God's miraculous work, or would they falter at the edge of faith? The air thickened with expectation. A divine mystery awaited. The stranger stood quietly, his presence both calming and electrifying. Grace felt the weight of unseen burdens lift slightly, as if the very fabric of heaven were brushing against her soul. The villagers exchanged apprehensive glances, curiosity mingling with trepidation. Who was this man? What wisdom did he carry? Children of God, he began, his voice smooth and inviting, yet powerful. What you see here is only the beginning. Grace felt her heart quicken. She had been waiting for this moment, a sign to rally her faith community. She stepped forward, her spirit soaring. Yes, a new chapter is unfolding before us. We've witnessed the miraculous. We can't ignore this. The stranger nodded, his eyes shining with understanding. Miracles often come wrapped in mystery. They require open hearts and minds to truly embrace their significance. The village felt the unease shift, eyes widening as the truth began to sink in. They had viewed Grace as the lone architect of Luke's healing. But now, the stranger suggested a divine plan that extended beyond one person. Could it be true? Could their collective faith tilt the scales of heaven? Step by step, you are on a journey to something greater, he continued. Embrace the uncertainty you face. For when you surrender to God's will, you unlock a force that transcends your worldly understanding. A whisper of hope fluttered through the crowd, mingling with soft gasps and murmurs. Grace sensed a new wave of belief washing over her neighbors, even those who had been skeptics just moments before. They stood closer, united in anticipation of what this stranger might reveal. And just as you have witnessed healing, he declared, raising his voice to fill the chapel, so too will you witness the healing of hearts and souls within this village. Trust in God's vision. He has plans for every one of you. In that sacred moment, Grace could see individual sparks of realization ignite around her. She remembered the elder's words, "Change is upon you," carved a path through her doubts. She took a deep breath and spoke, filled with determination. "We will not just stand in awe. We will act in faith." The stranger smiled, a knowing look shimmering in his eyes. "Yes, Grace, for it is in action that miracles multiply. Your steps forward will call others into the dance of divine transformation." As if awakened, the villagers nodded, some even grabbing hold of each other's hands. It was a chorus of faith beginning to rise as their hearts synchronized with the pulsing rhythm of divine purpose. Grace felt the electric energy of hope swirl around them. But just as their spirits lifted, a soft rustling echoed from the back of the chapel. An elderly woman emerged shyly, her eyes filled with tears. What if I've lost my way? Can I really be part of this?" Her voice trembled, carrying the weight of years of unshared burdens. In her trembling, Grace saw fragments of her own heart doubt, regret, longing for restoration. Blessedly, the stranger's gaze turned toward her, wisdom shimmering like starlight. Every heart has the potential to be transformed. You are never too far from his grace. Eager whispers rippled as the villagers began to recognize one another's struggles. The need for healing and connection stirred within them, igniting a creativity that Grace had only dreamed of. And then, almost in unison, a promise floated into the air like a fragrant prayer. They would journey together, both in healing and in faith. The stranger's smile widened. As the meeting began to pulse with renewed vigor, Grace caught a glimpse of the future, a village woven together by shared strides toward the miraculous. Yet, in the depths of her spirit, an unsettling thought flickered like a candle in the dark. What challenges lay ahead that might test their resolve? Would they be prepared for the trials that come before true transformation? The stranger, sensing her inner turmoil, whispered to her alone, "Patience, dear one. The next chapter is upon you, and it holds profound mysteries yet to be unveiled." With that, the weight of anticipation hung in the air, a divine invitation to boldly step forward into the unknown where miracles awaited. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, a palpable sense of awakening thrumming through the room. Grace's heart beat in sync with the villagers, a chorus of souls resonating with newfound possibilities. The stranger stood like a lighthouse amid the tumultuous seas of uncertainty, guiding them toward a horizon filled with hope. "Come," he beckoned gently, "let us talk of faith and action." The villagers shifted, drawn closer as though an invisible thread connected their hearts to the stranger's wisdom. Grace stepped back, allowing others to voice their eagerness. A young man, his brow furrowed with earnestness, spoke up. "What must we do? How can we channel this feeling?" His question hung heavy in the air, pregnant with longing for tangible direction. "Ah," the stranger replied, his smile broadening. "You must first look within. Each of you carries a piece of the divine tapestry. Recognize your gifts. The healing you seek will flow through your willingness to share love, kindness, and courage." His words danced around them, stoking the flames of inspiration. The young man nodded, eyes filled with possibilities. As he looked around, Grace could see others nodding along, their faces softening with realization. The stranger continued, "Every act of goodness, no matter how small, reverberates through the universe. You are not just participants but architects of a new reality. Then an elderly man, stooped but filled with determination, raised his hand. But what if fear grips us? What if we falter? The crowd fell silent, tension prickling as they braced for an answer. Fear, the stranger said, his voice steady and reassuring, is merely a shadow that hides the light of truth. You must remember, beloved children, that your victory lies not in being fearless, but in moving forward despite your fear. Embrace it. Let it guide you toward your faith. Tears glistened in the eyes of many as they absorbed his words, hearts stirring with the brave realization that vulnerability was a part of the journey. Grace felt her own doubts easing. She was not alone in her struggles. They could rise together. Gather your strengths like you gather stones to build an altar, the stranger urged, and let your stories of faith intertwine. In sharing, you shall find strength and healing. Grace locked eyes with the elderly woman who had spoken earlier. She saw an ember of hope reigniting there, a flicker that promised renewed life. The villagers began to murmur quietly, hesitantly expressing their dreams and fears. Each voice added another thread to the tapestry the stranger beckoned them to weave. As the meeting unfolded in a symphony of voices, a warmth enveloped Grace. It felt almost like the embrace of the Holy Spirit, wrapping around her, inspiring her to lead. Together, we will find our footing, she exclaimed, her voice rising above the rest. Let us forge a path of faith through our challenges. We will not be defeated. The crowd exploded in responsive murmurs and affirmations, a wave of commitment to one another crackling through the air. The stranger watched with a knowing gaze as they stirred, encouraged by Grace's fervor. But just as hope danced brightly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the chapel. A figure stumbled in, breathless, eyes wide with panic. "Forgive me," he cried, "I came from the fields. Our crops, they are failing. We need help." The air thickened with concern. The stranger turned, his expression shifting from serenity to deep compassion. "Now, my beloveds, as trials come, so does opportunity. This is the transformative test of your faith." Caught in the moment, Grace felt adrenaline surge through her veins. What would they do? How would they respond to the urgent call for action? She glanced at the villagers, sensing their collective heart pounding in unity. A divine challenge lay before them. Could they rise to meet the unfolding struggles? Would they have the courage to step into the unknown, hand in hand, trusting that miracles awaited? The stranger's gaze anchored her, filled with an unspoken promise. The time approaches when your faith shall shine most brightly, and from your willingness, fresh miracles will bloom. What will you choose? With that, the tension crackled. A choice lingered in the air, pregnant with anticipation, and together, they stood on the precipice of divine revelation. Grace stood at the heart of the gathering, her mind racing with possibilities as the villagers processed the urgency of the moment. The last breath of panic from the man who had rushed in still hung in the air like unease. She felt the collective weight of their need pressing down, a palpable call for action that stirred every soul gathered inside the chapel. "Let us not stand idle," she urged, her voice a steadfast beacon amidst the rising fear. "We have the strength of our faith, our hearts united. If there's help needed in the fields, we must respond. We must act." A chorus of murmurs rose, echoing her sentiment. The stranger nodded knowingly, a twinkle of affirmation in his eye. "Yes, indeed," he replied. "Faith is only as alive as the actions it inspires. Let love flow into your deeds." As Grace whispered encouragement to her neighbors, she noticed a younger woman stepping forward, her hands trembling with fervor and fear. "I can help. I know the fields well. Let me lead you." The bravery in her voice sparked a flame of courage in others. Suddenly, one by one, villagers began to rise, their faces illuminated with purpose. Together they forged a plan. Some would run to gather tools, while others would organize groups to rush to assist the stricken crops. The stranger watched with pride, the light of inspiration glimmering brightly around them. This was what he had meant, each gesture of kindness crafting a masterpiece filled with hope. As they organized, Grace caught snippets of heartfelt conversations, where tears mixed with laughter and determination. Our strength comes from sharing the burden, one man declared. Together we can weather any storm. Another echoed, let us be the hands and feet of love. With each word, they were weaving a web of faith and action, igniting their community into a living testament to resilience. Grace could hardly contain her joy as she watched the potent transformation. Fear was fading, replaced by the buoyant spirit of camaraderie. Suddenly, the stranger called for silence, lifting his hand. The villagers ceased their preparations and turned towards him, drawn by a gentle magnetism. Remember, as you go forth, he began, his voice enveloping them like a warm embrace. Each seed you plant, each hand you lend, carries the essence of the divine. These offerings will nourish not just the earth, but your spirit as well. Tears brimmed in Grace's eyes as she fought to hold back her emotions. The wisdom wrapped in his words resonated within her, echoing her own awakening. They were not just tending to crops. They were tending to each other as hearts, building a sanctuary of hope through their actions. Now go, the stranger encouraged. Let love guide your steps. And when the sun sets, you shall return, united by the hands of faith. With renewed zeal, they scattered in all directions, the sound of boots and the rustle of cloth filling the chapel's exit. Grace felt exhilarated, almost lightheaded, as she moved along with them. She was part of something larger, a divine mission unfolding before her. But as the fervor swept them along the paths to the fields, a sudden chill gripped the air. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, an omen of a storm approaching. Grace felt the tightening in her chest return, her heart racing. Will our strength withstand this? She wondered. The stranger's gaze turned serious. Do not let doubt unravel your faith, dear ones. With unity, even the fiercest storm can be calmed. Grace looked ahead, uncertainty mingling with a hint of dread. Could they truly face the tempest? Would their collective will prove worthy against the storms that life threw at them? They raced toward the fields, a blend of hope and trepidation. The winds picked up, spiraling around them. What awaited them in the fields? Would their efforts yield fruit and fortitude, or despair in the face of nature's fury? With faith as their anchor, they approached the threshold of the unknown, ready to embrace the challenge ahead. A moment of divine revelation awaited them all, stepping inevitably into the mystery of what God had planned. The wind howled like a restless spirit, urging them forward even as it threatened to knock them off their feet. Grace felt the chill weave through her, but she also felt an ember of resolve ignite within her heart. Each step toward the field felt like a prayer, as if they were marching not just for crops but for their very spirits. The young woman who had stepped up earlier, Lydia, was at the forefront, her face a mixture of confidence and uncertainty. The crop is east of here. We need to save the harvest, she called, rallying the villagers around her. Her spirited voice sliced through the encroaching darkness, and Grace admired the way her determination ignited those around her. Together, they reached the fields, the expanse of wilting crops and broken soil stretching out like a battleground before them. It was a dire sight, and uncertainty loomed like the storm clouds overhead. Teams formed swiftly. Some gathered tools while others strategized how to salvage the plants under threat. Grace took a moment to breathe, eyes scanning her fellow villagers, absorbing the beauty of their unity amidst the chaos. Do not be disheartened, she encouraged, her voice ringing through the air. Each hand here, every heart, holds the power to change this. Let us bring our faith to life. Her words hung in the breeze, and she could see hope sparkle in the eyes around her. Then the first drops of rain began to fall, small, hesitant at first, as if testing their willingness to fight against the tempest that nature had decreed. Many gasped, distraction rippling through the crowd. We can't work in this, someone shouted, their voice laced with fear. But Grace felt a shift inside her. It was as if she could almost hear the whisperings of the Spirit urging her to rise above the storm. This is our moment, she declared, louder this time. This rain doesn't have to signal our defeat. Let it wash away our doubts. With every drop, let us sow seeds of faith the same way we fight for our crops. Her words acted like a divine spark. The initial shock gave way to laughter, and the villagers stepped forward, arms raised to the sky. Even in the face of uncertainty, they could feel the heavenly warmth wrapping around them. As the rain poured heavier, the stranger appeared at Grace's side once more, his presence a calming balm amidst the raging storm. See how they rise, even in the face of opposition, he said softly, his voice almost drowned by the tumult. Faith ignites courage. In chaos, blessings abound. Grace sensed the truth woven into his words. Perhaps this storm, the chaos, was not a hindrance but a herald of growth. They were embracing the divine dance of faith and action, a beautiful melody amidst the clamor of life. With renewed fervor, they plunged into their harvest efforts, laughter mingling with the sound of rain. Each villager worked side by side, hands digging into the wet soil, heartbeats synchronized in a rhythm of hope. They were not alone. The storm became their ally, not a foe. And in the midst of their struggle, Grace noticed Lydia standing, hands covered in mud, right in the eye of the storm. She looked up, eyes wide and shining. Faith is like this rain, she shouted against the wind. It can seem overwhelming, but it nourishes what has been laid bare. Those words danced through the air, grabbing hold of hearts, transforming the fears into a chorus of agreement. Together they moved as a collective force. Despite the turbulent winds and the pouring rain, they sensed something miraculous was unfolding not just for their crops, but for each soul present. Would they witness a miracle in the fields this day? What awaited them at the end of this storm? As they labored tirelessly, a flicker of lightning illuminated the sky, casting an otherworldly glow over the scene. Grace lifted her head, staring into the heavens with wonder. What divine encounters awaited them as they persisted through the tempest? Had God unleashed his blessing within the storm? The rain came down harder, pouring over the fields like a divine baptism. It buzzed with an energy that made the air electric, as if nature itself was joining their efforts. The villagers, hands in the soil, hearts reaching upward, felt the current of a greater purpose running through them. Each drop seemed to wash away fatigue, boosting their resolve as if they had been filled with holy fuel. Grace turned to see Lydia leading a group close by. Mud splattered across her cheeks didn't hide the light in her eyes. It was a light that shone even brighter against the storm, illuminating the resolve in her spirit. Let us form a circle, Lydia shouted, rallying her friends, who hurried to hold hands, joined in a precious chain of faith. Body to body, heart to heart, the villagers formed a circle, drenched and determined. Grace felt buoyed by their connection. In that moment, the storm around them faded into a distant murmur. They closed their eyes, the raindrops mingled with their whispered prayers. Lord, Grace began, her voice a soft yet steady whisper, we ask for strength. Let this storm not break us but build us. Transform this drought into plenty, please. We trust you. Their voices rose together, an earnest choir of supplication to heaven. In the midst of the tempest, Grace felt a sacred hush wrap around them, a palpable presence of something extraordinary. The chaos of the storm became a backdrop for something divine. Faith and hope echoed louder than the rumbling thunder. Suddenly, a bright flash of light ripped through the clouds, not just brighter than the lightning that came before, but illuminating more than the landscape. It seemed to penetrate their very souls. Murmurs filled the air, all mingled with reverence. The villagers staggered back, not from fear but from the beauty that washed over them like a tidal wave of grace. I can feel it, Lydia breathed, her eyes shimmering, the soil responding. It's as if the earth is listening. Kneeling where puddles formed, Lydia scooped her palms full of rich, dark earth. The rain slowed for just a heartbeat, allowing the villagers to feel the texture smooth, alive, a reflection of their very spirits. Transformation was brewing in that sacred soil. I've never felt this way before, one man whispered, voice tinged with wonder. Others nodded in agreement, hearts swelling with an inexplicable peace. This feels like a promise fulfilled, Another said softly, recognition washing over them all. As they started working again, hope returning like sunlight through the clouds, they sensed the unshakable truth: they were not just fighting for the crops. They were experiencing the essence of faith itself. The realization struck them. Every tear shed, every doubt raised, had bloomed into something sacred, something beautiful. Each of their actions became threads of the divine tapestry being woven in real time. But just as they embraced this hope, a new gust of wind swept over the field, stirring up the chaos once more. Grace's heart raced as she looked to the heavens. What was this? Was it yet another challenge? The storm rumbled ominously, and an even louder voice seemed to echo through the skies, a reminder that challenges may still lie ahead. But above that distant thunder, something else stirred inside Grace. The essence of the storm had changed. Would they rise again? What revelations unfolded were yet to be discovered in those fleeting moments of prayer, mercy, and divine uncertainty. What awaited them in the next blink? The promise of growth or another test of faith? The air thickened with anticipation. As the wind howled, swirling ominously around them, the villagers felt an urgency in the air, a stirring of the spirit that beckoned them to remain anchored in faith. Grace held her ground, resolutely gazing at her companions, their faces marked with determination and the beauty of holy trust. She sensed that this was a pivotal moment, one where divine revelations would either take root in their hearts or be swept away like leaves in the tempest. "Keep your hearts open," Grace called out, her voice steady, fierce against the storm's roar. The prayer circle tightened, hands gripping tightly as if casting a lifeline into the unknown. Lydia glanced up, her face reflecting both courage and fear. "We can withstand this," she affirmed, her faith banishing any hint of doubt. As thunder grumbled above, Grace took a deep breath, grounding herself in the present. Each rumble felt like a call to action, a challenge not only to weather the storm but to embrace whatever was to come. "Lord, we are here. We stand united," she declared, feeling the warmth of the group surrounding her, like a cocoon of sacred promise. "Help us to trust in your plan." Gradually, the drops transformed from a furious downpour to a delicate sprinkle. It was as if heaven itself had paused to listen, and in that stillness, revelation began to unfold. Grace could see the soil around them transforming. Small sprouts emerged, pushing through mud soaked and renewed. It was a tangible reminder of growth coming from struggle, life springing forth from the depths of despair. And then, like a vivid brushstroke against a rain-soaked canvas, a rainbow fractured the gray sky. The colors erupted, cascading across the horizon. Gasps of wonder punctured the thick air, hearts lifting at this divine tapestry woven in the sky. "Look," someone cried joyfully. "The promise of God." The sight invigorated the villagers, lifting their spirits higher. Hope flared brightly among them. The storm that had threatened their crops had birthed not only rain but also transformation, giving them a glimpse of what was possible when they united in faith. "Do you see?" Lydia's voice trembled, not from fear but from awe. "This is faithfulness that allows hope to bloom even in chaos." She hardly realized she was speaking aloud, but it resonated with everyone else. Grace nodded, tears mingling with the raindrops on her cheeks. "Yes, this storm is part of our story, part of something much larger than us." Her heart sang with the knowledge that God was answering their prayers not just in abundance but in affirmation, their trials intricately laced with victory. But as the rainbow painted hope across the sky, a deeper realization settled within her. Just beyond the rainbow, the dark clouds still lingered. The wind picked up again, sighing a furious warning. Would the storm return, or had they truly crossed to safer ground? Grace knew in her heart that this was only the beginning of a larger divine narrative unfolding. What burden yet remained? As Grace looked deeper into the vibrant colors, a thought struck her. What if this was not merely a moment of triumph, but an invitation to rise even higher into faith? Let us remember this. I believe our greatest challenges may yet lead us to our finest moments, and even as questions hung heavily in the air, the ground beneath their feet felt strangely alive, buzzing with unseen potential. What faith-driven change would they yet witness on that sacred soil? The promise of revelation still loomed on the horizon, and the next chapter of their journey awaited. In the aftermath of the storm, the villagers stood in silence, their breaths mingling with the new scents rising from the damp earth. The air felt invigorated, charged with the promise of possibilities. Grace squeezed Lydia's hand tighter, a gesture of solidarity that needed no words. They both felt it, the stir of life beneath the surface, a whisper of divine intention. "Do you hear that?" Lydia softly asked, tilting her head as if trying to catch a melody carried by the breeze. The noise that emerged was no longer the overwhelming howling of the storm, but rather a gentle rustling, a chorus of life waking up. Grace nodded, her eyes wide and sparkling. It was as if the very earth sang praises of renewal, of hope unfurling like blooms after a long winter. Suddenly, a flurry of laughter erupted from the cluster of boys nearby. They were splashing in puddles, leaping carefree as the rainwater sparkled like diamonds under the emerging sunlight. Their joy was infectious. One boy, Tommy, looked up at his mother, exclaiming, "Look, Mom, the puddles are alive." His innocent words struck deeper than anyone could realize. "Yes, dear," she responded, a smile breaking her previously stoic expression. "Just like us. We're alive too." The truth resonated within Grace as she recalled her belief that life thrives in unexpected conditions. Turning her gaze toward the rainbow that still arched in the sky, Grace was struck by clarity. "It's like God is telling us to embrace this new beginning," she exclaimed, the excitement spilling over. "We've been renewed. We are called to transform this moment into something beautiful." The villagers began to gather around her, drawn by the electric enthusiasm in her voice. She could see it reflected in their eyes, a growing curiosity and a flicker of hope igniting within each soul. "What if," Grace continued, her voice strong and resolute, "this is a divine invitation, an opportunity not just to survive, but to thrive." A murmur of agreement circulated through the group. They absorbed her words like seeds seeking fertile soil. In that moment, each person felt the gentle nudge of the Holy Spirit stirring their hearts, urging them to rise above the storm they faced. "Let us build together," Grace proposed with fervor. "What can we do with this renewed faith? How can we breathe life into our community as we've never done before?" Lydia was the first to respond. "We could start a garden, planting crops that can withstand anything. We must show our strength." She looked around, gauging the excitement blossoming in the hearts around her. Another villager spoke up, "We should share stories of faith, the miracles we've witnessed even in our despair. Each story can be a seed of hope for someone else." As ideas flowed like the stream nearby, Grace noticed a fiery determination igniting in their hearts. She encouraged their visions, each one blossoming into action. "This is how we adapt to the miraculous changes in our lives. As we grow, we testify, we shift, and we evolve together in faith." But just as blinding joy surged through them, the wind howled once more, reminding them of the precariousness of their journey. The sky darkened slightly, shadows threatening to dampen their newfound hope. "Wait," Grace called, raising her hand to still the commotion. The realization hit her before stepping forward. They must also look inward. We must prepare our hearts. What fears must we face to move forward? What doubts hidden within our souls may still grasp at our faith? Her question hung heavy in the air like an echo. The villagers paused, glancing among themselves, contemplating the barriers still looming before them. It was as if a collective breath was held, waiting for courage to take the first step. As Grace watched her friends grapple with their inner struggles, she sensed the profound mystery of growth still revealing itself. How could they break through, rise above their fears, and step confidently into their future? What unseen challenges awaited them on this journey of faith? And more importantly, how would they respond when the next storm inevitably approached? In that moment, every heart waited, poised for both insight and revelation, all the while reflecting on the path that laid before them. The divine mystery remained woven into their souls, urging them forward, beckoning them onto the next chapter of their extraordinary story. The silence that fell over the villagers was palpable, a sacred stillness pregnant with possibility. Grace felt a shift within her spirit, a growing urgency for heartfelt honesty. Gathering her courage, she took a deep breath and spoke once more. Friends, let us not only address our fears but shine a light on them. Confession can be a powerful step towards healing. A thoughtful nod spread through the group. Lydia, ever the brave soul, stepped forward. I fear that I may not be strong enough to lead, that my ideas won't be enough. The honesty of her fear pierced through the air, revealing the common thread of doubt that many among them shared. Others began to share. I worry that our village will never return to what it was, said Miriam, a kind-hearted woman whose wisdom had always been a guiding light. The storm changed everything. What if it takes so long to heal? With each confession, shoulders lifted slightly, as if a weight was being collectively carried. Hope was morphing, rallying around voices lifted in vulnerability. Grace stepped into the circle, her heart full, sensing the rawness of the moment. You are not alone in this. We share these fears together. It's okay to lean on one another. Murmurs of agreement fluttered through the crowd. Each fear voiced transformed into a sacred bond, binding them closer together. Our fears do not define us, she continued, her voice steadying as she rallied everyone. Jesus walked through storms, and he invites us to cast our burdens upon him. Let us release our worries into his hands. As Grace spoke, golden rays from the sun punctured the clouds above, illuminating their gathering, as if affirming her words. The villagers glanced upward, awe flickering in their expressions. Grace felt the warmth wash over them, infusing fresh courage into their hearts. She saw how the light painted their faces with renewed resolve. What if we turn our fears into the very foundation upon which we build? She suggested, confidence blooming within her. What if we commit to facing these shadows head-on? Each fear can catalyze growth. Every doubt can be a stepping stone towards something greater. Together, we can draw strength not just from God, but from one another, Lydia added, her voice gaining a tremble of excitement. With every word, the tension released, and the spirit of unity began to swell. Let us walk hand in hand through the journey ahead, Grace said, each of us contributing our unique gifts, our stories, and our destinies. The divine miracle is already unfolding, but it begins with our faith, with our willingness to grow. Her words were met with a chorus of agreement, a symphony of voices rising to the heavens. Tommy, still captivated by his mother's old thoughts, piped in, then can we make it the best garden ever? Where the flowers bloom as big as our dreams. Laughter erupted, light-hearted yet deeply impactful. The tension among them broke, replaced with shared smiles, each face reflecting the soft light of hope. Yet just as excitement filled the air, an ominous shadow loomed again on the horizon, a dark cloud, lingering, reminding them of the uncertainty ahead. The villagers looked towards the sky, brows furrowing in concern. What if another storm comes? What if it's too much? Cried out Aaron, an anxious man whose fears oftentimes resonated louder than his hopes. His voice was a gentle reminder of the unpredictability they faced. But remember, Grace called, turning back to face them with fervor. We do not face storms alone. Our faith propels us. We have a choice to cling to hope, to hold tightly to the promises of God, no matter how fierce the winds. As she spoke, the wind picked up around them, rustling the leaves in a lively dance, a playful reminder of the ebb and flow of life. Grace felt its energy whip through her, and she grinned, embracing the tension. Let us not be afraid. We can weather it together. The villagers held their breath. As if the wind had whispered secrets just for them, the promise of transformation woven through uncertainty. How would their faith hold firm when the storms approached again? Would they persevere and keep moving forward? Emboldened but cautious, they stood together, hearts aligned, spirits intertwined. They were at the brink of something beautiful, but what awaited them at the next crossroad? With the storm clouds ever looming, they took one collective, heartfelt breath, ready to embrace the next chapter in their unfolding story of faith. As the storm clouds loomed, Grace felt an urgency from the heart of God pulsing through her. "This is our moment," she proclaimed with unwavering belief. "Just as the rain nourishes the soil, our faith can cultivate hope within us." The villagers, heartened by her words, exchanged glances filled with renewed strength. Each one clung to the promise that the coming storm would not vanquish them but instead challenge their faith to flourish. "We will not back down in the face of adversity," Grace declared, her voice ringing through the swirling winds. "We will stand together, united in purpose, for we have already tasted miracles in the midst of trials." With unified resolve, the villagers readied themselves. Guided by Grace's spark, they forged a plan. Lydia, full of determination, stepped forward. "I will lead the way. I'll show you where the crop needs our hands the most." Encouragement surged through the crowd, illuminating their spirits even against the threatening darkness. And so, they stepped forward onto the fields with faith burning bright. The first gusts of wind swept past them as they knelt down, hands busy salvaging what remained of the struggling crops. Joy transformations blossomed amidst their labor, laughter erupting even in the face of the unpredictable storm. They worked harmoniously, mending what felt broken, trusting each step would form a mosaic of triumph. But just as they finished, the sky darkened alarmingly. A fierce crack of thunder echoed through the fields, sending a collective shiver through their hearts. Many looked at one another, fear creeping in. "Will we endure the storm once more?" whispered Miriam, her voice trembling. "For every storm has a purpose," Grace proclaimed, eerie calm punctuating her fervor. "It shapes us, refines us, calls us to rise higher. Remember how we persevered before. We are not conquerors of the storm. We are voyagers alongside it. Pray with me." The villagers nodded, closing their eyes for a heartbeat, hands gripping one another tighter. Faith rekindling, they whispered prayers, each plea a declaration of their strength. Undeterred, they continued their labor, unfurling like flower petals after the rain. As the storm battered the field, torrents of rain fell hard. But there was a transformation, a mixing of fears and hopes. Miraculously, the drops felt warm against their skin, as if each was filled with divine purpose. Grace's heart thrummed in harmony with the rising tide of renewal. When the heavy clouds finally broke open, revealing a radiant sun cutting through the gray canvas, gasps of awe burst forth. A stunning rainbow stretched across the sky, vibrant colors beaming down upon them, the promise of restoration. "Look, the heart of God is here," Grace exclaimed, her eyes shimmering. "He speaks. We've not only survived the storm, but we emerged fuller, brighter in spirit." The villagers joined her, voices lifting in praise, hearts filled with joy. The fields illuminated as if blessing their hard work in every drop of grace that had fallen. Lydia caught Grace's eye, a beautiful understanding settling in. "We have become one with this land. Every seed planted embodies our faith. Together, as a united spirit, we grow." From that day forward, they weren't merely villagers, they became a living testament of faith made visible. They planted a community garden, embraced each other as stories of struggle, love, and healing. Every flower they cultivated became a symbol of their unwavering resolve. Weeks later, gathered again at the chapel, their hearts buoyed, the atmosphere charged with vibrant life. They shared stories touched by courage. Grace stood at the front, tears in her eyes, her voice trembling with gratitude, as she witnessed the healing and transformation that unfolded among them. "Our faith stands unyielding. The miracles we've witnessed are testament to our collective spirit. The storms will come, but we will not falter. Our roots are deeply entwined, growing stronger with each challenge." The crowd erupted in applause, a living symphony of shared testimony. In that chapel, their faith ignited like a blazing wildfire. This was not just the conclusion. It was a divine beginning, a launching point into a future filled with hope. As they left the sanctuary, hands clasped together, they knew they would hold faith not only for themselves but for one another, buoyed by the promise that together, they could weather any storm. And now, just as this incredible story has unfolded before you, I urge you, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread these powerful messages of miraculous faith. And I want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this amazing ending. Finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope. True servants of God understand how vital it is to support this channel. Step forward in faith now.